Okay, guys, so I think we're ready to get started here. Well, first of all, welcome to the ProcessMaker 4 public training sessions. During this week, we're going to be covering some basic stuff included in the newest version of ProcessMaker 4. And the version that we're using for these sessions is ProcessMaker 4 Beta 9. This is the first release candidate, so this should be the same version that you get whenever you request for a trial environment of ProcessMaker 4. So this week, we're going to be just taking an overlook to the features that are included in this version. Today, I'm going to be talking to you a little about the new request interface. I'm going to show you a little bit of the process designer. We're going to review the form builder. We're going to be talking about how scripts are going to be managed in this new version, how we're going to be working with collections, packages, and finally, how ProcessMaker 4 works with a queue interface. And we're going to take a look at the dashboard that we have in order to take a look at the queue of jobs that we're going to be having with this kind of solution. Okay, so what you're looking right now on your screen is the new request interface. This is practically like the inbox being redone. This is 100% responsive. You can take a look and use it in your mobile devices, in your smartphones, in your tablets. And maybe the most important thing here is that everything is a little more organized, right? So you're going to be able to take a look at your requests that are right now in progress, and the requests that have been completed already, and take a look at all of the requests in this interface. And one really important thing is that maybe in order to complement the advanced search that we used to have in previous versions, now you're going to be able to see the new advanced search interface that we have here. So you can see that we can search this request by process, by status, by requester, by participants. But now I would like to show you how you can also build your own requests. You can take a look at how I'm going to click on advanced search here. So you're going to be able to build your own requests using this language that we call PM queries. So we're going to be using this language right here. You can see that right now I'm showing all of the requests that are currently with an in progress status. And I'm going to be able to do something like this. And I will also like to take a look at the request, which have the requestor equal to Giovanni and stuff like that. Or, for example, if you have a process that works with information about your employees, you're going to be able to search all of the requests related to employees with a specific email domain, with a specific, I don't know, position, with a specific department. So you're going to be able to build this kind of request, which is going to make a lot easier for you to find the request that you're looking for. And going a little farther with this kind of request or advanced search, you're going to also be able to save your research. For example, if I click on Save Search here, I'm going to be able to select one of these icons. If I want to share this request or this search with anyone, maybe just with myself, with any group here, and I can save this search. For example, I can save it as requested by me. Save search. And there we go. So at any moment, I'm going to be able to get back to this search. And I won't have to put together again this query, right? So these are some of the things that you're going to be reviewing in future sessions: how to work with PM queries, how to save your searches, how to navigate through the searches that you're saving here. Another really interesting thing that you're going to be working with ProcessMaker 4 is the new process builder. You can see that here we're including most of the common elements that you can find in the standard BPMN tool. So you can see how clean this looks, how easy this is to use. You have the complete tool set here in this toolbox right here. Maybe some new things that you're going to be working with, like, for example, the event-based gateway. So you're going to be able to design complex business processes using this kind of elements. You can see how we're working with a send email task here, the actions by email task, the script tasks that are going to allow you to include your customized scripts to your processes. For example, if you're working with a script that has been written in PHP, in Lua, in C#, in Java, or if you're working with a framework like, for example, .NET for C#, or even if you're working with a framework like Laravel for PHP, then you're going to be able to use all of the functions, all of the methods, all of the libraries included in these frameworks. So these are some of the languages that now we support in ProcessMaker 4. Of course, we're planning on adding more languages to this list. Let me just quickly show you how our script, interface looks like right now. So you can see, for example, that I have this PHP script, which is supposed to call an external web service in order to send a SMS message. Okay, let me know if you can see my screen now. I think you were just looking at the request interface. Okay, so I was showing you this script interface. What I was telling you that this script is used in order to consume an external web service in order to send an SMS message. But you can see that some of the most interesting stuff here is that you can even emulate how this script is going to work with the information that you're going to get from your process. So you're going to be able to include some sample input data here. You're going to be able to actually run this script and take a look at the results here. So you can see the content of the response of this web service right here. You can see how I'm defining that here as well. So as I was telling you, I know that in previous versions of ProcessMaker, we were only able to work with PHP, but as I was telling you, we now support different languages like Lua, C#, and Java. Now, so you won't have to wait until your process is completely designed. You won't have to wait until you're creating a test case in order to test this script. You can just test it out right here from this interface. So what I was showing you about the new process designer is how you're going to be working with these elements right here. And some of the newest elements that have been included here, for example, the event-based gateway, and also maybe that really important element, the boundary timer event. Some BPMN elements that weren't present in previous versions. So actually next week, you're going to be working with this designer. My colleague and friend, Summer Becker, is going to be showing you how to use this designer in order to design complex business processes. And as we have rebuilt this designer, You can also take a look at the new form builder that we're using. Of course, starting from ProcessMaker 4, we start working with screens instead of forms. So what you're going to be doing here is actually to build a screen. This screen can be used as a form. This screen can be used just to display information. You can use it as an email template. So what you're going to be doing with this screen is practically designing how you're going to be displaying all of the information that you have in this process to your final users. And maybe one thing that's really important about how we're working with the scripts and screens in this version is that, for example, if I have designed this screen and I would like to use it in different processes, I'm going to be able to share this screen between processes. I'm going to be able to reuse it for different purposes. If I have a script, for example, that works with an external web service, I'm going to be able to use that script in different processes. Okay, so in the new screen builder, the one that you are looking right here, you can see different elements like, for example, images. You can see how easy it is to change the color or the configuration that I have for this element. You can see the design. I can change the text color, the background color, the data source. If I would like to get this information from a JSON structure, I can define that here, some advanced stuff. I'm going to be able to define a visibility rule here. And these are some of the things that you're going to be reviewing 2 weeks from now when we start working with the new screen builder. Actually, I'm going to be showing you how to work with different variables, how to work with multi-column rows like here, and some more advanced stuff like, for example, the signature that you can see here. In the new screen builder, you're going to be able to work with computed properties. So you're going to have properties that are going to be coming from a formula, for example, and you can just define the formula right here, or you can even use JavaScript in order to define how these parameters are going to be calculated. Some really interesting stuff here is that you're going to be able to include your customized CSS code in case you would like to change the background color, the font family, the font size. If you would like to, I don't know, change the design or the look and feel of your radio buttons, for example, or define a complete style for your titles and subtitles, then you're going to be able to include that kind of CSS rules right to your screen using this interface right here. If we take a look at the preview interface that we have for this kind of forms, then you're going to be able to see how this is going to be displayed to your final user. You can see some really advanced stuff here, like, for example, this signature. So if I click here, you can see how I can sign this form and approve it, right? I can even emulate the data input right here. For example, if we take a look at the parameter or the variable that we're using, you can see that I have a variable right here called std email. I can just go to the preview and emulate how this is going to be displayed. std email. There we go. So you can see how the student email works, and now it's displayed right here, right? So I'm emulating the input of that variable right here. And I'm going to also be able to, if I click here, for example, I can see how my parameters and my variables are changing. And I'm going to be able to take a look at the final result of this form. So some of those are the new stuff that you're going to be reviewing during these sessions. You can see that now the solution that we're working with is more powerful, is easier to use. You're going to be some really useful stuff. We're taking all of the great stuff that you already know from previous versions of ProcessMaker, and we're adding more powerful stuff like the things that I'm demoing today, right? Some other things that I would like you to see today, for example, the collections, which are the equivalent to the ProcessMaker tables. Here we're going to have a collection of data that we're going to be using for our processes. You know that in the past we used to work with this kind of tables where we only were able to store like textual data, right? But here you're going to be able to see how I'm going to be working with different type of elements. For example, if we take a look at this, that's actually related to an employees collection. You can see how I can store the first name, last name, who's the supervisor of this user. You can see how I'm going to be able to add new records here, even upload files to this element. So you can see that here we're not only working with text, but we're going to be able to include, for example, dates here. I'm going to be able to enable a drop-down list in order to select one of these elements, like here. I'm going to be able to relate this collection to a different collection in order to get information from another collection in order to populate this list. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be available for you using this kind of collections. And now, right now, I can tell you that in order to input or to enter a new record to that table, we're using a screen here. So the screens that you designed using the screen builder are going to be able to be used in order to either register a new element in these collections or also to view one of these elements. So, for example, if we review the information of this element, you can see that we're only displaying the name, right? But you can also display images here. You can display radio button group, checkbox group, whatever you can use in a ProcessMaker screen can be used also to display your collections information and also to enter a new element here. Okay, so that's how you're going to be working with collections. That's a topic that you're going to be reviewing with me. And finally, I would like to show you how ProcessMaker works with a queue manager in order to handle huge data sets. So if you are working with a large amount of data, then you don't have to worry about performance issues because this is being handled by Redis. If you can take a look at more information of Redis on the web, that's practically the queue manager that we're using. This all goes through the ProcessMaker API, so you won't have your users executing requests directly to the database, but you're going to be interacting with the ProcessMaker API. And having such a powerful API set like we do in ProcessMaker 4 is also going to allow us to perform this kind of requests outside of the ProcessMaker 4 environment. So you're going to be able to work with an external solution in order to create requests, create new processes, create new screens, obtain information about a specific request, a specific process, even gather information about your collections, and sending and receiving information to the collections that you have here in ProcessMaker 4. Okay, so as I was telling you, this is just an overview of the elements that you're going to be reviewing during these sessions. These are going to be really short sessions like today, 20 minutes, 30 minutes in order to review a specific element in ProcessMaker 4. Now, if you're using a trial workspace, then, for example, next week, you're going to be able to create your new process. Of course, in addition to how to use the process designer, we're going to be sharing with you the best practices at the time of designing processes. Please, whenever you have any question, whenever you have any doubt, or if you have a project in mind, you can always use the GoToWebinar question interface in order to send us your questions and inquiries, and we're going to be solving them for you. So as I was telling you, we're going to start next week with the process designer, and that session is going to be delivered by Summer Becker. I don't know if you guys have any questions today. As I was telling you, you can use the question interface from GoToWebinar. Okay, so, well, today we were just taking an overview at this solution, right? So I think that next week you're gonna get hands-on and you're gonna start to work with this kind of designers. So we're eager to see you next week, and I would like to thank you for joining me today, for taking the time for joining the sessions. I have a question from Carlo Jaramillo. And Carlo, I'm going to be sending you an email with the answer to that question. He's asking me about the database connections. Okay, so that's it for today. Thanks for joining me. As I was telling you, we're going to get started next week with the process design.